Today's Cowboys Report is sponsored by RexMD. If you've ever had some lack confidence in the bedroom, well, have no fear. RexMD is here to help make that change a positive one for you. RexMD.com/chat. Tell you more about them later on in today's show, but you can get up to 90% off by using the URL RexMD.com/chat. Today's show, we will break down some of the top training camp battles to watch on offense. Yeah, we'll do defense later on, but training camp is still a little bit further away than maybe I would like, but it'll be here before you know it. So we'll run through the offensive side of the football and look at some of the top training camp battles for the Dallas Cowboys. This upcoming camp, I should say. We're going to begin in the tight end room. That's where we start because you can really make an argument that positions 1, 2, and 3 in terms of the pecking order for this young tight end group are all up for grabs. The Cowboys drafted Luke Schoonmaker in the second round out of Michigan. They had a fourth-round pick last year on Jake Ferguson, and they have former UDFA Peyton Hendershot. Sean McEwen's there, but he's not going to start, so we're not going to talk too much about him. Ferguson is the incumbent in terms of the leaders there. 22 of 19 on targets and catches, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he is a better blocker than Peyton Hendershot, but he's also not quite as dynamic as an athlete. Hendershot is the better athlete compared to Jake Ferguson, although Luke Schoonmaker is actually the best athlete of the bunch from an athletic testing standpoint. Hendershot showed some promise, needs growth as a blocker, has had some drop issues as well. Meanwhile, Schoonmaker, remember, he was the second-round pick. There was a bit of a run on tight ends. I still wonder if Dallas panicked and reached a little bit just to make sure they got their guy in the tight end room. But he had 35 catches for 418 yards. He wasn't utilized very much as a tight end. He was more of a blocker. Now, he had some tough assignments, didn't grade out that well, but Michigan trusted him to block defensemen, which you should never do. But they still put him in that spot, and there are actually moments he held up pretty well. I would not be surprised if Schoonmaker eventually emerges as tight end 1 by the end of the season. But who do you think it ends up being? JF for Jake Ferguson, LS for Luke Schoonmaker, PH for Peyton Hendershot. This is today's pinned comment, so if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there, type in JF for Jake Ferguson, LS, or PH. Let's go to wide receivers now. Your big 3 are set. Lamb, Cooks, and Michael Gallup. Wide receiver 4 and maybe even wide receiver 5 are a little bit more uncertain. And when I look at this tight end, or this wide receiver depth chart, I feel confident in the top 2, feel really good about the number 1 player, a little bit anxious about wide receiver 3, and wide receiver 4 and 5 and beyond are complete unknowns. There's a lack of proven reliability behind your paid big 3 guys right now. So we're going to begin with Jalen Tolbert, who was a mess last year. There's really no way around it. The issues Tolbert had, he couldn't even line up on sides correctly. That's how rough things were last season for Jalen Tolbert. He had 3 targets for 2 catches, 12 yards, has had a lot of positive buzz coming his way in minicamp and OTAs. You need to see it, though, in training camp. Sivahoko, meanwhile, had a shoulder injury last year that cost him some time, although I don't know if he was going to be ready to make an impact anyway. But he has a nice height, weight, size, speed profile. But again, hasn't proven himself quite yet. Could he become the new Noah Brown? I think that would be an ideal outcome for Dallas, especially from a special teams impact perspective. Then there's your wild card, Kevontae Turpin. I really did think last year the Cowboys would have found a way to give him the damn ball on offense. 1 catch for 9 yards, 3 carries for 17 yards. In the end, I think he's much more of your Lucky Whitehead with an upside of Tavon Austin on offense than he is, like your next Debo or Tyreek or anything, which is I think the correct outcome. I think the other 2 are way too high there. But can he be more on offense? We'll find out in camp. Maybe Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer can unlock him in a way that Kellen Moore never seemed to be able to. Now, fellows, if you sometimes lack some confidence in the bedroom, if you wish you could have a more fulfilling sex life, you are not alone. And we're excited to tell you guys about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. They offer an easy and discreet way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you have medication delivered straight to your door at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made in the USA so you can trust its quality. Their customer support team is available 24/7 to answer any questions or concerns you guys may have. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life and say goodbye to ED, head on over to rexmd.com/chat and start your consultation today. Take advantage of the best they've ever offered. Get up to 90% off and pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. rexmd.com/chat. Starter packs of generic Viagra or Cialis are now available. It's rexmd.com/chat. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Let's go to left guard now. Another starting spot, maybe potentially open. This also kind of comes down to, hey, what ends up happening in the tight end room? What happens from that perspective with where things are currently at, or the tackle room, excuse me. There are 5 options the way I view it. Tyler Smith, if Tyron Smith starts at left tackle, Matt Farniok, Matt Waletzko, Chuma Edoga, and Terence Steele in the event Tyler Smith's at left tackle and Tyron Smith is at right tackle. That's a bit of a complicated process. We'll break it down more in depth here in a moment. But who do you want to start at the left guard position? You know, is it, do you want to put Tyler Smith there? Is it somebody not even on the roster? Maybe that's a possibility here. Get those answers in for me in the comment section. Who do you guys want to start at left guard? The offensive line depth chart is in a bit of a tricky place, I'll call it at this moment. This is your best 5. But what happens even if, let's say this is the starting lineup for week 1. Week 7, Tyron Smith gets hurt again. Classic Tyron. You're going to put Tyler Smith, I would assume, at left guard. At left tackle, excuse me. Who's your left guard then? Is it, you want to try Austin Richards? Is it Matt Farniok? Maybe he's the internal, maybe he's your backup swing along the offensive line on the interior. Matt Waletzko's got some run there. I wonder if he's better at tackle, but that's at least worth mentioning as far as I'm concerned. Chuma Edoga showed some promise last year as a guard. Does he even make the team? Maybe it's somebody not even on the roster. So that left guard spot won't be finished early in camp and might not be determined until even a little bit later. Now, about 37% of you guys, even in a down part of the calendar year, watch the show, yet are not subscribed. So do not be one of those people. Instead, hit the sub button right now for more free Cowboys videos. Next up on our camp battles on offense, running back number 2. Obviously, Tony Pollard is running back 1. Who's his backup? There are a couple different contenders right now on the roster. There's Deuce Vaughn, the rookie draft pick out of Kansas State. There's Ronald Jones, the veteran. The returning players on the offensive line, Malik Davis, Rico Dowdle as well. And I'll mention Hunt Lipke, who's probably more of a fullback and not really an RB2 option, maybe more like RB3/4 there. Ronald Jones, to begin with him. He's the veteran, and he showed promise in 2020. He almost had 1,000 yards that season, 5.1 yards per carry. I mean, if I could get that right now, I would be so happy. I would take that in a heartbeat. But he's barely produced since then. Meanwhile, Deuce Vaughn is the guy I want it to be. I'm a huge fan of his game. I always have been, dating back to his time at Kansas State. Our small running back is an absolute undersized player, but also electric and fun to watch, and was really productive at Kansas State. But he was a 6th-round pick. He has to prove it still. Malik Davis got a small chance last season. Does offer something resembling some special teams value. Might have gotten himself in trouble with the coaches, wanted to play more last year, which, if that's true from what the reporting has been out there, like that's kind of shocking for a UDFA. But he's a chance to earn that RB2 role. Rico Dowdle has long been liked by this Cowboys organization. At least long in terms of he's been here for a couple years now. But he also has been completely unable to stay healthy. So because of that, do you trust him to stay healthy as your number 2 back? I'm not so sure. So what is your confidence level then in the Dallas Cowboys offense? Scale this for me from 1 to 10. It's 1 on the low end. You think it's going to be a dumpster fire. It's going to look like the Texans' offense look like for a few years. 10 being, you think it's awesome. It's going to be the best offense in the NFL, or at least top 3. Get those votes in for me in the comments section. Finally, I'll group a bunch of other spots we've kind of discussed already. Various depth positions along this Cowboys offense that are filling out the back end of your roster. We mentioned wide receiver, right? Receiver 4 or 5. Did they carry a 6th? Is that Jalen Brooks? Is that Fehoko? Who else makes the roster at wide receiver? That's kind of the first depth battle I'm keeping an eye out for. And there will be some UDFA that grabs our hearts and minds, and we want him to make the roster, and we'll see if he actually does. We mentioned RB2. Got to have RB3 as well. Who's the runner-up to that camp battle? And who are your backup offense linemen? Anywhere between 8 and 10 players you'll carry. There's about 7 locks. Figuring out the rest of those will be determined during camp.